Yeah, man. People say that we're free. Somebody just, I guess, yeah, they unfriend me on Facebook. See, when you telling the truth, people going to do that. Yeah, people going to unfriend you when you come in with truth because what they want to do is hang on to the world. That's what it is. They want to hang on to the world. When I say hang on to the world, it's going into how a lot of our people denying the fact that we're still in captivity to this day. And I use the example of them saying, "Oh, he want to come in here and talk about slavery, and I don't suffer slavery." Like, just trying to basically deny it and disassociate themselves from it because they disassociated a disassociate slavery, and they trying to, like, quote unquote, water it down and say it's something negative that you're talking about, and I'm trying to talk about something positive, but they have this view in their mind that, because it's been taught to us by the slave masters, the Europeans, that when we, like, okay, don't worry about slavery, don't worry about these things, forget about them, just throw it up under the bus, and don't you even worry about it, don't even do this and don't even do that, don't you talk about it, don't you even say, you say something about it. It's the same thing with how they programmed us, our people, is to, like, if they been in all this stuff, molestation, all this stuff came from slavery. It came from the slave master forcing the young man to go and have sex with his mother, and then it forced the daughters to it's like having having all kind of stuff that you can think of that they did during slavery, forcing the man or forcing the white woman to sleep with the black man, forcing the black man is to sleep with the white woman, having, like, guns put to their head, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they try to say, well, you wasn't enslaved and you wasn't this, and just come up with all kinds of different things. That was for those people back then. Today we're not dealing with that. And I told them like this here, and I said this on TikTok. I said, well, I tell you what, go out there, leave your driver's license at home, go out there and drive a car with no driver's license, or leave here without a passport, and you're gonna see exactly how free you is. I even said this in a video I just did on TikTok. A lot of people, they came in to hear it, but you can tell a lot of people not really used to certain information the way you presented it. You see what I'm saying? Because they have been programmed is to say hush, and when a young girl or a young man has uh, been, you know what I'm saying, like been touched or something like that. I'm just using that as an example. They afraid to go out and tell somebody because they have been brainwashed into the person threatening them and say, if you tell, slavery is sort of like this. This is sort of how slavery is. Slavery is like this here. If you come up on the forefront and you talk about it and you say what it is and all that, they're going to come with all kind of different techniques to try to get you to water it down and say, don't worry about it, it's negative, put it in the past and all that type of stuff. And these are the things that we have been programmed and conditioned up under. If you don't bring them to the forefront and speak on them and heal from it and things of that nature, like this is how we heal when we talk about or point out white supremacy of what they're doing. You see what I'm saying? I don't agree with everything in this book that this man wrote. It was written. Look what it says here. Wait a minute. I think I passed up the page. I think I did. I see something here called monotheism. I used to even know how to even say this word. You know how I learned how to pronounce that word? When I was looking at a show on Pop the Balloon, and they had this guy named Aaron the Plumber. He's well known on YouTube and all over social media now. And he has a big following, a big platform. And he said the co-host of the show was named Arlette, she asked him. He was the one that walked out there. I think the video is about a year old now, or close to a year old. She asked him, she's Aaron the plum, what are you looking for? What type of traits you're looking for in a woman? And then I think she asked him, what are your deal breakers? A woman that my deal breaker would be, I'm looking for a loyal woman. I don't. What your deal breakers? A woman that's what? How you said it? Monotheism. A woman that sleeps with multiple of people and stuff like that. That's what he meant. Which I didn't know what that word meant, and that was the time when I found out what it meant. So when I just saw it, I'm like, okay, that's what that. There it is, right there. So I'm familiar with it, because that's why I like to listen sometimes. So when I go in books and look up the word, I'm like, oh, that's the same word that the guy was talking about. So it's kind of like slavery. It's kind of like, it's more like you've been abused, but you have been forced by the masses is to keep quiet and not talk about it. It's considered, if you talk about the things that has actually happened to us, even in this generation today, it's considered you're being negative. We not living in that type of time no more, when you can actually go into the Bible and you can debunk all of what people are saying. It's a lie. They tell you shouldn't talk about it. They tell you shouldn't talk about slavery. They try to make you out to be the worst person ever to be for speaking on it. You see what I'm saying? When you're not. But this is how mentally our people has gotten destroyed. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And I'm glad I'm speaking on this here. And I'm going to post this video. I have several videos that I need to post to YouTube. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse, I think it's what? 46? 47? Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 28. Let's try 46. And they should, no. Here we go. I think this is it right here. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. We got to go to our enemies for everything, in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee. Now notice he said he will put a yoke of iron, because during slavery, they put yokes of iron upon our people's neck, right? And so he says, them yokes of iron is not going to come off of our necks until we is mentally destroyed. That means mentally destroyed. You see what I'm saying? That means once it's just like you training a dog, right? If you train that dog and that dog running out into the road, eventually, if you get back in there, you take the chain, you keep pulling on, don't go out there. You could eventually, if you do that long enough, pretty soon you'll be able to take the collar and the chain off the dog. You can leave and go anywhere. That you come back, that dog gonna be in that yard. He ain't going nowhere. Why? Because you have conditioned him is to stay in the yard. It's just like if you take a dog that is that from a little puppy, you train him and make him vicious, and you just doing all you catch it. You get you a rope, or you get you one of those like a towel, and you start letting the dog bite at it and all that kind of stuff, and you teach him how to run. Get him. If you instill that in them, then they're gonna eventually catch on to what you're doing. So when the dog as you developing that in that dog and you instill it, you actually programming and conditioning that into that dog. Guess what that dog gonna do when he sees somebody? You ain't gonna have to sick the dog on nobody. The dog naturally just gonna go for the person and attack them. Why? Because you have trained them that way. Because see, before the dog got trained that way, the dog wasn't doing that. You had to teach the dog how to do what you wanted it to do, right? You had to teach that dog how to do what you wanted it to do. You had to teach the dog to be aggressive, right? That dog, just an illustration, that dog was not born aggressive. Just like us, when we were born into this world from the beginning of time, when our ancestor was born, and before the Europeans came over here, our people wasn't defending these weaves and wigs and all this type of stuff. They wasn't defending that because there wasn't no need to, because they have not been, that was not those standards of another nation's beauty was not introduced until they started forcing these things on our people. And once they started forcing these things on our people, then our people started, when we started letting these things, the enemy come in like a flood, according to Isaiah chapter 59 and 15 and 19, it says, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord gonna lift up a standard against him. But at the same time, all these different doctrines came in like a flood coming in. You see what I'm saying? And it destroyed us. So this is the same thing it is, how we're repeating the same patterns of these things. See, these things is constantly, modern day is still being beat into our head. That's why when you find Dylan Roof went into that church in 2015 and shot and killed 9 black people in cold blood, and they still doing the same, and George Floyd got killed, it's because our ignorant tales, especially so-called black people, our people, is going to get up there and going to say, we forgive you, and they going to do it because it's in us no matter what. It's in our people. It's in us to have compassion and stuff. But we have developed the spirit of like developing a compassion for the very people who has taken us captive, who has killed a lot of our families and family members and stuff. No matter what, that's the God, that's really the God in our people. You see what I'm saying? It really is. It's really the God in our people that makes our people do that. But see, we are so beaten into these things until we take these things and we believe that we are so conditioned into these things. We believe that if somebody come in and beat the hell out of us, we believe, well, we should just love them anyhow and do all that, give them all the love in the world and stuff, because these things has been conditioned and programmed and beat into us physically and mentally as well too, for us is to be speaking and thinking like that. You see what I'm saying? Let me read something to you about Stockholm Syndrome. The definition of Stockholm Syndrome. All right. Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological phenomenon where a person develops a positive bond with their captor or abusers, characterized by positive feelings toward the captor, sympathy for them, and negative feelings toward authorities or those who try to help. This often occurs as a survival mechanism in a situation of intense stress and independence, such as hostage situation, domestic abuse, see that, or cults. The term originated after 1973 bank robbery bank 1973 bank robbery in a Stockholm's Sind uh, Swindoo, where hostages began to defend their captors after the release. Hostage people that was taken captive by these same people, they started developing a love for the other, just like Israel did that in the Bible. They started developing a love connection for the same people that was beating them upside the head. And that's not of God like. No. Because the Bible tells you, how can you sit up and love the same people who's punishing and torturing you? You wouldn't even look, think about it. If another brother, I'm just hypothetically speaking, tortured your 7-year-old baby or your child, right? You know good and well you ain't gonna be that easy in your mind. No, you're not gonna do it at all. You're not gonna if that person took your child and abused your child in bad physical in every way you can think of, you know you're not gonna have no mercy on that person in the so-called white man's courtroom. You know that. So-called white people ain't gonna even have no empathy or sympathy for you. How can they tell you, push you, is to tell you, oh, you got to, God loves everybody, you got to be forgiven and erase it from your memory. But guess what? Why is George Floyd dead then? Why that man that put his knee on Mr. George Floyd's neck said, oh, well, you know what, I'm not gonna do this to this man. Because they done went through enough anyway, drama or whatever. So I can at least forgive this man. I ain't got to look what my ancestors done. But no, he refused to do that. He took and he killed Mr. George Floyd. So the Bible here is telling you in Deuteronomy 28 and 48, therefore should thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, and in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. See, you have to understand that when the slaves had yokes, matter of fact, let me pull that up. Just like the situation with the vaccine situation. People was putting on them things, trying to protect themselves. I didn't never wear that stuff. No, I didn't. What does yokes of iron look like? Hold on, let's see. Yokes of iron slavery. I'll show you this is biblical. Look at that. The Bible says, therefore should thou serve thy enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. So once our people got destroyed, or whatever, then they claimed that the slaves was free and got free. Okay. See, they had chains on our people. You see what I'm saying? Slaves who think they are free. That's right. Slaves who think they are free. Welcome to Priority Pastor. My name is Darren Darren Wright. I just came across a quote that was actually mentioned by a person in a podcast. Listening to just the other day, a quote from Harriet Timberman Tubman, who was a lady who born into slavery back in 1822 and escaped to freedom, and then helped rescue many others from slavery. Just a fascination individual, a fascinating individual. I need up on her a bit after I came across this quote, even unto a Wikipedia is focus a fascinating, and she obviously an incredibly amazing woman. The quote that fellow this follow mentioning in this podcast was a quote from Harriet Tubman, where she said, I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. See that? See what it's saying, and I remember I can't remember the YouTube channel. I watch it all the time. I have to go back and watch. They said the best person, the best slave is the one who don't know they're a slave. So those were the ones that defend for it. You see what I'm saying? It says, I read up on her. I read up on her a bit after I came across this quote. Even unto even into a Wikipedia is fascinating, and she's obviously on an incredibly amazing woman. The quote that this fellow mentioning in in his broadcast was a quote from Harriet Tubman, where she said, I freed 1,000 slaves, and I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. See, that's what makes you a slave. You don't even know you one. See, a lot of our people don't know. That's why they ignorantly repeat words such as, well, that's negative, or whatever was back in the day and all that. You'll make the best slave ever. You don't even realize you're making the best slave ever. You're making yourself the best slave. When I heard that quote, it gave me a bit of a jot. It really in a way gave me a motivation for ev- elevated Vedinism, evangelism for soul. Okay, winning. I realized right away. I have this just felt this jot behavior, and when I felt this jot before, actually it was many years ago, the very first time I watched the movie the Matrix. I remember hearing that song. I couldn't have said that word if I wouldn't have been listening. The Matrix. And without going in great detail, maybe you have seen it, maybe you haven't. This idea of being slaves and not knowing that you are a slave, right at the end of the Matrix, Neo is is talking is talking into the phone and kind of lying down his mission. In a sense, I left that movie waiting to reach people, wanting to reach people for Jesus. Okay, I actually felt somewhat similar, not as intense, but very similar after another movie, The Dead Pets Post Society, when Robin Williams is a readily old movie. Now, I came out of that movie thinking people need Jesus. I got to do something about that. Okay, yeah, this is about, let's see what this is about. Slaves who think they are free. That's right. So that's what this video will be about. Slaves who think they are free. Slaves who think they're free. So I'm gonna get up here, man. This is some good information, man. This is the reason why probably it's hard to get me to bed. I be doing I do a lot of, I pay attention. I just try to do research as much as possible. You know what I'm saying? Slaves who think they are free. Let's see if I can remember to pull that back up. Slaves who think they are free. Yeah, let's read this last little part here. I mean this again. The phrase slaves who think they are free is a quote by John, Jonathan Wolfgang von Golden, meaning those who are hopelessly enslaved. Hopelessly enslaved are the ones who the ones who falsely believe they are free. This concept suggests that people may be controlled or limited by systems, white supremacy, the slave master, and social pleasures, pleasures or their own beliefs, while being unaware of their lack of true freedom. The quote is used to highlight how the obese of self-awareness about one's own constraints can be a more profound form of servitude than being openly enslaved, controlled through ignorance. You're ignorant. That's what controls you. You're ignorant. The best slave is, okay, control through ignorance. The best slave is one who believes they are free because they will work harder and be less rebellious, according to a related ideal attributed to Galton. System of control. Some people interpretations applied the quote to modern situation. such as how government taxes or social expectations can limit individual freedoms and choices, even while people believe they are free. The bottom line is, you're not free. So stop believing that. The best slave is the one who believes they are free, because they will work harder and be less rebellious, according to a related idea attributed to Golden. Okay, it says the best slave is one who believes they are free, because they will work harder to be less rebellious. In other words, they will work. To me, I interpret that as our people will go out their way, showing their ass more for the white. Like Ice Cube said, the black police showing out for the white cop. And I saw it in a video. I think it was yesterday. I was watching it. This woman was at a hotel, and you can look the video up online. And to make it short and to the point, the black man took and went out of his way to kick the damn door in. He was the police along with them. You see what I'm saying? So you can tell they be trying to show out, because they think somehow they're going to get brownie points for what they do. Internal limitations. The quote can also refers to internal forms of bondage, where a person's own beliefs, fears, or dependence on authorities figures can prevent them from achieving true freedom. Who told slaves they were free? See, this is what our people need to understand. President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January the 1st, 1863, as the nation approached its third year of bloody civil war. Who told slaves they were free? The original Juneteenth, when freedom reaches Texas at last. On this day in 1865, General Ginger announced General Order 3. So I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. I said I was, but this is what our people don't take time to do. They don't take time to really want to understand. You know what I'm saying? That's why the Most High said, much study is the weariness of the flesh. Yep. So that's what, like they said, people also ask, who told slaves they were free? Evidence that enslaved people freed themselves, including the self-intention, escapes rebellious, and their role in creating networkers like the Underground Railroad, when the help of both black and white sympathizers, their actors also forced the Union Army to confront slavery, leading to the con confess confessing acts, confiscate 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 acts, and the Emancipation Proclamation. Historians note that while emancipation was a complex process, the in, the intent the initiative taken by enslaving people was the prime mover in ending slavery, as documented in their personal accounts and students of their actions before during the Civil War. Because that's what the Civil War was all about. What a word I said, emancipation. Let's look that up. What is the meaning of the word emancipation? Emancipation, the fact or process of being set free from illegal, social, or political restriction, liberation. Yeah. Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead on and get on up out of here. But the best slaves is the one that don't know they're a slave. So I'm up out of here.